Episode 56 LN November 14, 2023. Poles see what they breathe, UK lie, wood burning carbon capture negative emissions. Poland, anti-smog campaign, using mobile PM2.5 monitoring. For the fifth time, Poles can see what they breathe. Rosep View, this anti-smog campaign names solid fuel boilers, including indoor residential wood burning, as the main source of smog in Poland, and uses the device of 6-foot-tall mobile lungs installation which gradually turn black from real air pollution when the installation is parked in a municipality. https://smogLab-pl.translate.goog/polasai-payadi-mogad-sobaczyzyc-x_tr_sl November 14, 2023. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. On Clean Air Day, the Polish Smog Alert launches the 5th edition of the See What You Breathe campaign. Change it. During the last campaigning over 4 months, the mobile lungs will visit over 60 towns in 8 voivodeships. During this time, will they show how poisonous the air is which Poles breathe? 2-meter, 6-foot, mobile lungs turn black. Awareness about the harmful effects of breathing polluted air is still very low. Therefore, the campaign aims to draw attention to the serious problem of poor air quality. An even more important goal is to convince of the new government that the government against smog should become a priority. A 2-meter model of human lungs breathes absorbing pollutant airs that settle on the white matter covering the installation. The installation is set up for 2 weeks in different locations, where it becomes covered with dust and soot. Depending on the level of air pollution, it turns gray or even black. Lungs are mainly placed in places where there are no air quality measurements. This means that residents are often unaware of the air they breathe. Campaign See What You Breathe. Change It not only shows how polluted the air we breathe is, but above all encourages us to replace old solid fuel boilers, which are the main source of smog in Poland. This is how the lungs changed color in Chelmiak in the last edition of the action. This is what the inhabitants of Chelmiak breathe. Read also, on Clean Air Day, November 14, mobile lungs can be seen in Bolesławiec in Lower Silesia, Sim and Bochnia in Lesser Poland, Naklo nad Noticia in the Kuyavian Pomeranian and Nowy Voivodeship Dwar in Mazovia. €3 billion for 3 million dummies. On the occasion of the launch of the campaign, PAS appeals to the coalition partners forming the new government to speed up the fight against smog. According to PAS, it is crucial to unlocking €3 billion from the KPO for the fight against smog. In practice, this means supporting the replacement of old coal and wood boilers, as well as the thermal modernization of houses. It is also important to restore and tighten coal quality standards, which were suspended in July 2023. We cannot forget about local governments in the effective implementation of anti-smog resolutions, because this is the basic instrument in the fight for clean air in the regions. In order to effectively carry out these reforms, it will be necessary to coordinate. Smog may be a threat here for 6 years longer. We are glad that the acceleration of thermal modernization of Polish houses and the replacement of inefficient coal and wood boilers, the so-called Cinderella wood boilers, were included in the provisions of the coalition agreement, says Andrzej Gula, leader of PAS. This provision, to which all the parties in the government agree, gives us hope for an effective solution to the problem of air pollution in Poland during this term. We will monitor how this commitment is implemented. In the near future, PAS will present to the new actions the government that should be immediately taken to effectively clean the air in our country, adds Andrzej Gula. This year's campaign is carried out in cooperation with the Better Future Foundation, the LuxMed Group and the Allegro Foundation. United Kingdom. Lawsuit over the carbon capture industries, BECSAs, lie in untrue assertion that wood-burning power plants can emit or produce negative carbon emissions if carbon capture technology is used. Rosep comes at this from concern about human health from air pollution, and these environmental groups who are suing come at it from the side of protecting living forests. Rosep View, the argument over United Kingdom officials buying the lies of the carbon capture industry, and the United Kingdom paying subsidies for carbon capture and with it, paying subsidies for polluting industrial biomass, wood burning, counting carbon emissions from fossil fuels and not counting carbon emissions from wood, biomass, burning. Why are wood burning carbon emissions not counted? The United Nations and European Union systems of climate goals unscientifically state that carbon from burning biomass, wood, is not counted toward fulfilling each nation's climate pledge to the United Nations that that particular country will reduce total carbon emissions and help slow climate change. Does not counting biomass, wood burning, emissions really slow climate change? No, not counting biomass, wood burning, carbon emissions accelerates, in real time, climate change, because biomass, wood, burning still produces real carbon emissions even if wood burning emissions on paper are not counted. What is the real effect of not counting carbon emissions from wood burning? Nations of the world that want to meet their climate pledges to the United Nations started replacing coal-burning plants with wood-burning plants so that their climate goals could be met, and so it would appear on paper that those nations were slowing climate change, according to the rules of the United Nations Climate Pledge System. However, those wood-burning plants are more polluting than the coal-burning plants they replaced. In reality, wood burning produces more particulates in the form of PM 2.5, and wood burning produces more CO2, a greenhouse gas that directly leads to global warming, than the PM 2.5 and CO2 emissions of the fossil fuel coal burning. Wood burning in even the cleanest wood stoves in the United States and United Kingdom, called eco-design in the United Kingdom, produces at least 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. PM 2.5 is particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Just don't burn solid fuels to begin with, since the cost of wind and solar power is plummeting for the benefit of consumers in 2023, and also in 2023 improved, non-polluting, electric heat pumps are available that work at temperatures down to 40 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, which also happens to be the same as 40 degrees below 0 centigrade, which are going to be accompanied in the United States with up to $8,000 federal government rebates per heat pump in 2024. This article from Euractiv about the lawsuit of environmental groups against the United Kingdom asks that the UK stop misleading the public by counting wood burning with carbon capture as, not just carbon neutral, but outrageously and absurdly the carbon capture industry is calling it negative emissions. Wood burning produces more PM 2.5 and CO2 emissions than coal burning. The political, not scientific, theory of carbon neutrality says that carbon emissions from wood burning should not be counted because a tree can grow in the place of the tree that is cut down to burn for energy. Carbon neutrality itself concludes that politicians can say no carbon emissions exist from wood burning for the reason that a tree can be grown in the place of a tree cut down. That is the first absurdity of accounting allowed by United Nations climate goals. The United Kingdom would like to further justify producing real increased carbon emissions from wood burning by saying that some of the carbon emissions from wood burning are caught and sequestered by carbon capture, BECCS, so, the carbon capture industry says that the emissions can be characterized not just as no carbon emissions, or zero carbon emissions, but, outrageously, negative carbon emissions. Let's say that the ambient air around a wood-burning plant is 36 micrograms of PM 2.5 per cubic meter a day on average. With this high level of PM 2.5 pollution caused by just the wood burning, that would normally violate United States National Ambient Air Quality Standards, NOx. However, since the emissions are not counted, neither in the UK nor in the United States, the NOx allowed to be counted and regulated is 0 micrograms of PM 2.5 per cubic meter, using the unscientific theory of carbon neutrality of wood burning. And the United Kingdom adds another layer of absurdity to this non-calculation of carbon emissions. The carbon emissions from wood burning on paper, using the unscientific theory of carbon neutrality, are zero. If a BECCS system of carbon capture is used and say, 10% of the carbon really emitted is captured, sequestered in concrete blocks, and those concrete blocks flung to the bottom of an ocean, the United Kingdom would like to state that carbon capture made the real emissions from wood burning into negative emissions, of 10% of 36 micrograms per cubic meter a day. The United Kingdom would like to say that carbon capture has made or will make emissions from wood burning negative 3.6 micrograms per cubic meter, 10% less than the real emissions of 36 micrograms per cubic meter, in this example. At that rate, using this fake accounting, leaving out real carbon emissions from wood burning, the United Kingdom could come closer to its climate goals on paper, in this fictitious example claiming minus 3.6 micrograms per cubic meter average in a 24-hour period PM 2.5 pollution from a very real and very polluting Really at plus 36 micrograms per cubic meter average in a 24-hour period, wood-burning plant. Another drawback to carbon capture is that it doesn't work. It is inefficient and so expensive it could not exist without massive government taxpayer-paid subsidies, like wood-burning power plants, which are also expensive to run and so inefficient as heating sources that they also require massive government taxpayer-paid subsidies to continue in business. The carbon capture plant owners and biomass, wood-burning, plant owners have incentive to keep the taxpayer-paid subsidies arriving. The average taxpayer gets a hit to the pocketbook, gets a hit of air pollution greater than coal-burning pollution, and the United Kingdom residents and taxpayers get an empty promise that the whole enterprise will slow climate change. However, wood burning rather than fossil fuel burning will accelerate rather than slow climate change at a greater rate than coal burning. Is this lawsuit just about the misuse of math? Who is suing the United Kingdom for outrageously counting carbon capture from wood burning as negative emissions? What is the connection to Sweden? Who is suing the UK? The Livescape Project and the Partnership for Policy Integrity, PPI, which are environmental groups. From the article, the government's rationale for BECCS as providing negative emissions violates international carbon accounting protocols underpinning the Paris Agreement, to which the UK is a signatory, said a statement from the Livescape Project and the Partnership for Policy Integrity, PPI, two environmental groups that are the complainants in the case. Burning forest biomass and relying on BECCS for negative emissions will not contribute to the government's legal obligation to achieve net zero by 2050, they warned. Plaintiffs say BECCS technology relies on flawed accounting assumptions because it sees the carbon captured from wood burning as negative emissions when the process is at best neutral from a climate perspective. Environmental groups are taking the UK government to court on Monday, November 13, over plans to spend billions on biomass with carbon capture and storage, BECCS, a technology aimed at removing CO2 from the atmosphere that is also being promoted by the European Union. Is carbon payback period another way of saying carbon neutrality? Yes. The United Kingdom, in justifying their faulty math, speaks about a carbon payback period. BECCS projects are based on the flawed assumption that biomass is always zero emission, pointing to evidence showing that wood pellets used in UK biomass plants and imported from America have contributed to logging biodiverse forests in the US Southeast as well as Canada, contributing further to climate change. Campaigners, meanwhile, say BECCS can at best be counted as zero emissions but cannot possibly contribute to negative emissions in the short term. Indeed, under UN accounting rules, harvesting wood is considered a source of carbon that adds CO2 to the atmosphere and is treated as zero in the energy sector to avoid double counting the emissions. Counting the emissions again when biomass is burned is therefore either a mathematical mistake or a carbon accounting trick, said Mary Booth, director at PPI, one of the complainants in the UK legal case. This is an accounting gimmick, Booth told Euractiv, insisting that BECCS provides no net change in carbon emissions. Previously, the carbon was embodied in the trees and was thus not in the atmosphere. Now, the CO2 is held below ground, so is still not in the atmosphere. But there has been no new removal of CO2 from the atmosphere, Booth stressed. They are committing the first deadly sin of carbon inventories. They are double counting the removal of the carbon. It's really not an exaggeration to say that the whole scheme is based on the inability or unwillingness of policymakers to do the math. However, scientists say the negative emissions will only be realized once new trees are planted and grow sufficiently to absorb the same amount of carbon dioxide, a process called the carbon payback period that can take several decades. Biomass energy is classed as renewable because it is assumed that the carbon in harvested materials will be removed from the atmosphere through regrowth and, over time, the carbon emitted on combustion will be reabsorbed, said the European Academy's Science Advisory Council, ESAC, an association bringing together the national scientific academies of the 27 EU member states, plus Norway and Switzerland. But while in the case of solar and wind energy, typical carbon payback times, linked to mining and manufacturing, are just months to a few years, the payback period for biomass is highly uncertain and depends very much on the type of biomass used. Short rotation crops and residues from sustainable forestry operations may have short payback periods, but harvesting whole trees and additional extraction of stemwood has been shown to have payback periods of many decades or even centuries, ESAC said in a commentary published last year. This delay is too long to contribute to meeting Paris Agreement targets of reaching climate neutrality by 2050 in EU countries, it warned, urging policymakers to suspend expectations that BECCS can deliver significant CDR removals by 2050. UK sued for counting wood burning with carbon capture as negative emissions. Euractiv.com plaintiffs say BECCS technology relies on flawed accounting assumptions because it sees the carbon captured from wood burning as negative emissions. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity and relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. UK sued for counting wood burning with carbon capture as negative emissions. BECCS relies on a simple assumption, because trees and plants suck up CO2 from the atmosphere when they grow, burning biomass for electricity and capturing the related emissions to store them underground will result in negative emissions. This article is part of our special report Forests, Nature and Carbon Removals in Europe. The UK government's biomass strategy, published in August, contains a chapter on BECCS, which explains how the technology can deliver negative emissions. BECCS relies on a simple assumption, because trees and plants suck up CO2 from the atmosphere when they grow, burning biomass for electricity and capturing the related emissions to store them underground will result in negative emissions. Booth told Euractiv. This comes back to the old problem. They want to treat biomass as actually having zero emissions, based solely on the accounting convention of counting biomass as zero in the energy sector, Booth said. EU-ready certification of carbon removals to help tackle climate change. The European Commission is set to propose a scheme to certify removals of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as part of a push to reach net zero emissions by mid-century, according to a leaked proposal seen by Euractiv. Carbon accounting gimmick. Even supporters of BECCS acknowledge some caveats. The UK's own biomass strategy, for instance, says genuine carbon removals are only possible if the biomass is well regulated, meaning if it is sourced sustainably with appropriate certification to avoid deforestation. EU repercussions. According to campaigners, the UK legal case could reverberate beyond Britain and have repercussions across the Channel, where the European Union is promoting BECCS as a negative emissions technology. On November 30 last year, the European Commission put forward a scheme to certify removals of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere with new EU-wide rules for third-party verification, management of certification schemes, and functioning of registries. BECCS was listed in the proposal as one of the main technologies to ensure permanent storage of CO2, alongside carbon farming techniques like agroforestry and carbon storage in products such as wood-based construction materials. In addition, the EU executive announced €180 million in funding for a project to convert an existing heat and power biomass plant in Stockholm into a world-class, full-scale BECCS facility. Supporters of the project say the Stockholm BECCS plant has the potential to remove around 7.0 metric tons CO2 eq over the first 10 years of operation and pave the way for a new market of net carbon removals. In the case of the Swedish BECCS project, assuming the wood comes from Sweden, if you did the math and added up all the sinks and all the emissions from the energy sector and the land sector, you'd see that the BECCS project yields zero emissions, at best, not negative emissions. The project promoter, Stockholm Exergi, did not respond to Euractiv's request for comment. Headlines. Montana, Olney. Fire destroys home outside Olney, KSI NBC Montana. They don't have an official cause, but add that the home had a wood-burning stove. Flames were fully engulfing it when firefighters. Nebraska, Omaha fire crews respond to early morning house blaze. WOWT smoke could be seen on. Nebraska, Omaha wood-burning fireplace malfunctions, causes Omaha home to partially catch fire. KETV wood-burning fireplace malfunctioning. Just before 5 a.m. firefighters could see smoke coming from a two-story house near 45th and Q Streets. New York, Danby. Danby firefighters respond to smoky home. 870 a.m. 97.7 FM News Talk. WHCU authorities responded to a home on Gunderman Road on Friday. They say there were high levels of carbon monoxide and smoke because of a wood stove. North Carolina, Cullowhee, Western Carolina University. Despite rain, drought conditions remain for WNC, Western Carolina University PM 2.5. While decreased visibility is a notable impact, high levels of PM 2.5 can lead to asthma exacerbation, reduced lung function. North Carolina, Raleigh. Controlled burn helps Cub Scouts appreciate Old Glory ABC 11 Raleigh-Durham. It came from pieces of a vintage American flag, cut into strips and carefully placed on burning wood by adults associated with Cub Scouts Pack 522. Ohio, Carrollton. Update: local high school senior killed in fire. Fox 8 News: wood burning stove and retired for the night. The father was awakened by the smell of smoke. The parents, whose bedroom was in a lower level of Ohio, Carrollton. 18-year-old Carrollton High School student killed in fire. Canton Repository Aiden McNutt, 18, was killed in a fire at his Washington Township home Saturday night. A fire official said the fire began in a wood burning. Ohio, Carrollton. House fire kills 18-year-old Carroll County High School senior, Cleveland 19. The initial. Oregon, Eugene. Weather status: Eugene Daily News. Green: using fireplaces and wood stoves is allowed. Asterisk: pellet stoves can be used anytime since they don't produce the particulate smoke. Data: Eugene/Springfield, the air quality index is 21 in the good category measuring particulate matter. Homewood heating advisory: Eugene Springfield. Oregon, Harney County, Elkhorn. /pile burning is happening across Harney County. Elkhorn Media Group: burning could start this week. Did you know /pile burning is one of the most common wood waste disposal methods used in fuels management today? United Kingdom. Our cottage turned into an inferno. The Times: Laura Parkman lit the wood burner in the sitting room of her and her husband Jeffrey's thatched cottage just as they had throughout that winter. United Kingdom, Birmingham. 2,200-pound warning issued to anybody who has a wood burner at home. Birmingham Live. It is at least 15% more costly to heat a home using a wood burner rather than a gas boiler, according to Charity Impact on Urban Health. United Kingdom, Camden. Wood burning at home, careless not cozy. Camden Newsroom. Camden Council. An innovative project has been launched to raise awareness and reduce air pollution caused by domestic wood burning in the borough. United Kingdom, Jersey Island. Burning trees felled in Storm Ciarán, a risk to life. Jersey Evening Post: burning logs from trees felled by Storm Ciarán, the fire service has warned. Jersey Fire and Rescue Service said that burning damp wood that had. United Kingdom, London. Police launch probe as Jewish families leaving North London synagogue are targeted. Daily Mail: police launch probe as Jewish families leaving North London synagogue are targeted by pro-Palestinian activists spraying green smoke and shouting. United Kingdom, Nottingham. 2,200-pound warning issued to households with a wood burner. Nottinghamshire Live. Nottingham Post. Wood burners are an expensive way to heat your home, costing more than gas boilers or heat pumps, according to a new warning. China. The synergistic effects of PM 2.5 and CO2 from China's energy consumption. Science Direct. ScienceDirect.com: previous studies had shown that reducing fossil energy consumption could decrease PM 2.5 and CO2 emissions. The Leap China model and 3 scenarios. India, Delhi. On Diwali Day, Delhi's overall AQI in poor category. DigiWorld.com: one of the hotspots, the Anand Vihar station, was in the poor category with PM10 at 272 and PM 2.5 at 240, while the CO was at 62 and NO2 was at 363. India, Bihar. Many Bihar cities record AQI over 300. BSPCB tells DMs to enforce laws to check air pollution. The Times of India. The AQI assesses air quality based on 8 pollutants, including PM 2.5, PM10, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, ozone, carbon monoxide. India, Chennai. Adverse weather may accentuate Chennai's air trouble on Diwali Day. The New Indian Express. The prominent pollutant in all these places is PM 2.5. Particulate matter 2.5 refers to inhalable pollutants of diameter of less than 2.5 micrometers. India, Delhi. Delhi witnesses poor air quality, likely to gradually deteriorate. Hindustan Times: PM 2.5 concentration that can go up to 20 or 30 times the permissible PM 2.5 limits. Exciting news. Hindustan Times is now on WhatsApp channels. India, Delhi. Why is Delhi's air much worse than you think? The leaflet: what, why and how of PM 2.5. What is PM 2.5? PM 2.5 are fine inhalable particles, with diameters that are generally 2.5 micrometers and smaller. India. Avoid outdoor walks, burning crackers. Delhi government issues health advisory amid hazardous AQI. The Indian Express: avoid burning wood, leaves, crop residues, and waste. India, Delhi. Delhi AQI shoots up as PM 2.5 at 31 times the permissible limit post-Diwali. Hindustan Times. DPCC data showed the hourly PM 2.5 concentration was at 1,856 micrograms per cubic meter at East Delhi's Patparganj, around 31 times the national. India, Delhi. After Diwali, Delhi's air quality drops from poor to very poor meant the concentration of PM 2.5 particles in the city has been found to be 20 times the limit prescribed by the World Health Organization, prompting India, Bengaluru. Diwali, first 12 hours of Monday see pollution spike in 11 cities, Bengaluru sees 55 Deccan Herald. PM 2.5 levels. Compared to Deepavali days in 2022, October 23, 24 and 25, Bengaluru fared better while the remaining cities saw a spike. Average PM. India, Delhi. Day after Deepavali, Delhi becomes most polluted city globally. The Hindu values are a measure of the quantities of PM, particulate matter, 2.5, considered most harmful for respiratory health. Though pollution from India, Delhi. Data shows firecrackers led Delhi's air quality into very poor on Diwali night. Hindustan Times. Delhi's hourly PM 2.5 concentration at 6 p.m. was 57 micrograms per cubic meter, which rose to 78 micrograms per cubic meter at 7 p.m., 114 at 8 p.m., 179 at India, Delhi. Air pollution. Delhi posts 140% surge in lung-harming PM 2.5 particles after Diwali. Business Today. 5 is a type of particulate matter that is 2.5 micrometers or less in diameter. PMist. Posted by Shubham Singh, November 13, 2023. India, Delhi. Delhi plans to unleash cloud seeding in its battle against deadly smog, Wired UK. Almost 25% of fine particulate matter, an air pollutant abbreviated as PM 2.5, in Delhi is caused by this reaction. Secondary particulate. India, Delhi. Delhi air pollution, PM10, PM 2.5 levels soar as firecracker ban defied on Diwali. The Statesman. The levels of PM10 and PM 2.5 pollutants in Delhi's air saw a massive spike on Monday as people defied Supreme Court's ban on firecrackers. India, Delhi. Delhi issues pre-Diwali advisory amid poor air quality concerns. Dynamite news. Burning wood, leaves, crop residues, and waste is not advised. That do not smoke cigarettes. Avoid burning mosquito coils and incense sticks. India, Delhi. Delhi's air quality remains poor. DigiWorld.com. The Anand Vihar station was in the poor category with PM10 at 290 and PM 2.5 at 250, while the CO was at 32 and NO2 was at 32 under good category. India, Pune. After clean spell, air quality set to plummet in Pune on Diwali. Hindustan Times. The PM10 concentration was recorded as 71 micrograms per cubic meter, while the PM 2.5 level was recorded as 44 micrograms per cubic meter. Weir, Korea. Air pollution causes 43 premature deaths per 100,000 population in Korea. The Korea Herald. The most dangerous of these particles include soot, soil dust and sulfates, which are fine particles 2.5 microns or less in diameter, known as PM 2.5. PM 2.5 and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Relationship between fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, concentration and risk of BMC. Public Health. Biomed Central. However, evidence on the association between short-term exposure to PM 2.5 and the risk of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, remains limited. PM 2.5 and heart attack. Seasonal wildfires, air pollution increase heart attack risk. Mirage News. In the first study, researchers from Intermountain examined the association between fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, and ozone air pollution.